So this girl, you know what? You're not going to believe this story because I'm not sure if I believe this story. It is wild. So this is Gemma. She's from England, she's in the 12th grade, and she has a best friend. This girl, Jess. And she has another best friend. This girl, who we'll call Beatrice. So Jess and Beatrice are a few years younger than Gemma, and they hang out all the time and they drive around talking about boys or whatever. But one day, Gemma starts going to college, and she starts to really miss hanging out with her two friends who are still back in secondary school. So then Gemma comes up with one of the wildest plans I've ever come across to be closer to her friends. See, Gemma knows her friend Beatrice really wants a boyfriend, and she knows exactly the kind of boys Beatrice is into. So Gemma decides to catfish her and put on a disguise and low-key become the perfect boy for Beatrice. So first, she creates a Facebook profile for this fake guy, and she names him Aaron. And she adds a profile picture of fake Aaron, and she adds a bunch of friends and makes the page look legit. Then, posing as fake Aaron, Gemma adds Beatrice on Facebook and sends her a message. Sometime later, Beatrice messages back like, "Oh, hi, who are you?" And they start chatting, and soon enough, they're chatting every day, and they're really hitting it off. But after a couple of months of this, Beatrice really wants to meet Aaron in person for the first time. So now, Gemma is in a predicament. She knows if Beatrice doesn't get to meet fake Aaron in person at some point, then she's going to eventually realize he isn't a real person and she's going to stop talking to him. So, what does Gemma do? She dresses up and disguises herself as a boy and pretends to be fake Aaron. She gets some baggy clothes and a beanie, and she puts men's cologne all over herself, and she adjusts the way she talks and the way she walks and everything. And now that she looks like a boy, she goes to meet Beatrice in person. So they meet up, and somehow Beatrice has no idea this is her old friend Gemma catfishing her. So then Beatrice and fake Aaron, they meet up more and more, and she really starts to like him. And of course, Beatrice is telling her best friend Jess all about this new guy Aaron she's been hanging out with. And so now Jess wants to meet him. And so Gemma, dressed as fake Aaron, is like, "All right, let's meet." And so the three of them, Beatrice, Jess, and Gemma dressed as fake Aaron, they start hanging out a lot. And neither Beatrice nor Jess realize they're being catfished by their own friend. But then, at some point, fake Aaron asks Beatrice to be his official girlfriend. And boom, they become official. The day after they become official, Gemma takes it even further. She dresses up as fake Aaron and she tells Jess that he's got this cool friend that she might like. His name's Luke. And fake Aaron wants to hook Jess and Luke up. And so soon enough, Jess starts messaging with this guy, Luke. And she immediately thinks Luke is fine. But here's the thing about Luke. You know how fake Aaron is really just Gemma dressed as a boy? Luke is also just Gemma dressed as a boy. So the fake Luke is chatting back and forth with Jess, and pretty soon they agree to meet up. And they're hanging out, and Jess also has no idea she too is being catfished by Gemma again. And if that isn't bad enough, one day Jess and fake Luke are hanging out and they're making out, because I guess they make out? But then fake Luke gets pushy and he doesn't stop when Jess asks him to, and I guess this happens a few times, so eventually they break up. Good for her. Oh, but this breakup is not going to stop Gemma. She just goes and creates another alter ego to date Jess. And she dresses up like a slightly different type of boy, and she calls herself Connor. So now Gemma is pretending to be this fake Connor, and she makes a fake Facebook page for him, and she messages Jess like, "Luke told me what he did, and I just want to say it's really not cool, and you didn't deserve that." And Jess is like, "Oh, he's such a nice bloke, isn't it?" So then Jess and fake Connor start chatting back and forth all the time, texting all the time, and they start hanging out in person. And of course, Jess has no idea fake Connor is Gemma, and she starts to really fall hard for him. Oh, but it gets worse. Meanwhile, Beatrice is still hanging out with fake Aaron. And one night, I guess they decide they're gonna smash for the first time? And of course, beforehand, fake Aaron insists on keeping the lights off while keeping all of his clothes on the whole time, including his hat. He didn't want to take that off. But yeah, regardless, I guess they smash. And I don't want to know how. But here's where Gemma's insane catfishing scheme starts to fall apart. At some point, fake Connor goes over to Jess's house. And I guess they start hooking up, and fake Connor tries to go further, and Jess says no. But fake Connor's being very aggressive, and I guess he ends up essaying her. But then he's on her bed, and eventually he falls asleep. I guess he didn't mean to. And while he's sleeping, his hat is kind of falling off. And so Jess finally sees him without the hat, and she realizes that this person in her bed who just SA'd her isn't fake Connor. However, and try and stay with me now, she doesn't realize it's Gemma dressed as a boy. She thinks fake Connor is fake Aaron. She thinks fake Aaron is at her house pretending to be fake Connor. And she's like, oh, bullocks, why is Aaron in my bed wearing a hat and pretending to be someone else? Now remember, Aaron is supposed to be her best friend Beatrice's boyfriend. So she thinks her best friend's boyfriend just SA'd her. So she kicks him out, and she tries to decide what to do. Now eventually, Jess decides to come clean, and she goes to Beatrice and she's like, hey, I think your boyfriend Aaron was catfishing me, pretending to be Connor, and then he SA'd me. And so Jess goes and reports fake Aaron to the police. So now police are looking for fake Aaron, and they end up finding him at Beatrice's house. And they question him, and of course, he denies everything. Now, in theory, this would be a great moment for Gemma to come clean and say, haha, I was catfishing everyone. I was Aaron and Connor the whole time. But that's not what she does. Instead, later Gemma calls the police and she pretends to be fake Aaron, and she's like, Gemma can back up my story. So then Gemma posts on Facebook and she pretends to be fake Luke, and she has fake Luke confess on Facebook to being the one who actually SA'd Jess that night at her house. She's like, everyone's blaming Aaron, but it was actually me. And if that isn't crazy enough, Gemma then somehow breaks her own jaw, and she contacts police and she tells them that fake Luke attacked her. What the fuck is going on? Anyway, I'm not sure if police buy this story because they're still looking at fake Aaron as a suspect. So police have Beatrice tell fake Aaron to come over to her house, and when fake Aaron shows up, bam, they arrest him. But since fake Aaron isn't a real person, this means police have actually arrested Gemma in disguise. So at the police station, Gemma is freaking out. How the hell is she gonna get out of this? But then police decide to do a strip search on her, and Gemma refuses to remove her beanie. And police are like, oh, piss off, and they try and pull the beanie off of her. And when they do, Gemma's hair falls down around her face, and the officers look at her like, oh, bloody hell, you're a girl. So the truth finally comes out, and everyone is like, how the hell did you pull this off? So ultimately, they charge Gemma with SA and fraud, and she's sentenced to 30 months in prison for catfishing her two friends. And I don't have a mugshot of Gemma, but here's a picture of her in real life. Do you remember when a bunch of billionaires died and like the whole internet celebrated? Well, it all starts with this guy. His name's Stockton, and Stockton is a pilot and an engineer, but what he really wants to do is explore the universe, like Captain Kirk on Star Trek. But one day in 2004, when he's 42 years old, he decides to do just that. Except he's gonna start specifically underwater. And so he starts renting private submarines to travel down into the deep. And he is shocked at how few submarine rentals there are out there. And so after a little research, he starts thinking, hey, I'll build a private submarine myself and I'll let people rent it from me. So in 2009, that's what he does. Stockton starts his own company, OceanGate.
Hi, my name is Stockton Rush. I'm the CEO and founder of OceanGate.
Then in 2016, he and OceanGate start taking tourists in a small submarine to tour underwater ruins from this Italian shipwreck. That's pretty cool. But that's apparently not enough for Stockton. He's thinking bigger. He wants to take tourists down to a destination that's really hard to get to. A destination that's gonna get his company a lot of buzz and attention. That destination, the wreckage of the Titanic. And so Stockton gets to work and he starts designing a submarine that can withstand the pressure of the ocean at 13,000 feet deep. And old school standard submarines, they're too expensive and way too big. And Stockton, he wants his to be cheap. And so, boom, he starts building it. He apparently cuts some corners on the material he uses on it, and he adds a bunch of other pre-made parts so that OceanGate can save some money. And he also installs a Logitech video game controller to steer it. Now, he does get a lot of criticism for this, but I actually looked into it, and it's apparently not uncommon to use Logitech video game controllers to control certain parts of submarines. So he's not entirely crazy for installing one on his, apparently. Anyway, once it's built, he calls this new submarine Titan. And it ends up being about the size of an SUV. And so Stockton tests the Titan without anyone inside to see if it can withstand the pressure, and actually, it holds up. And so it looks like his dreams are gonna come true. He's actually gonna get to explore the ruins of the Titanic. Until... not everyone is on board with Stockton's Titanic submarine plans. Particularly this guy, David. And David is an employee at OceanGate. And so David looks at the Titan and he immediately sees some things that could ultimately turn into a leak. And so David lets it be known, and he brings all these serious safety concerns up in a meeting with all the bosses at OceanGate. He's like, this sub, it isn't strong enough. And he insists that they get it inspected and certified by the American Bureau of Shipping to verify that it's safe and up to standard. But I guess Stockton is like, nah, that won't be necessary, because he feels that most accidents are caused by mistakes made by the operator, not by the equipment. And so getting extra inspections won't really matter. And then, boom, they immediately fire David and they give him 10 minutes to clear out his desk, and then they escort him out of the building. I guess they really did not like being questioned. Regardless, now that no one is poking holes in this business plan, Stockton can move forward with testing the Titan with an actual human inside, and of course, he insists on taking it down first, by himself. And so he takes the Titan down, and everything seems to be going fine. But then, once the Titan is around 10,000 feet down, suddenly, bam, it loses all communication with the support crew on the surface. But Stockton, he isn't scared. He's down in the submarine looking out the little window and seeing all this magical deep sea shit that makes him feel like he's finally living his childhood dream of becoming Captain Kirk. But anyway, he eventually pilots the sub back up until he gets communication back. Now, that little test run would suggest that this sub isn't exactly safe. But old Stockton, he doesn't seem to be bothered by this. In fact, at one point, he's quoted as saying, you know, at some point, safety is just pure waste. I mean, if you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed. Oh boy. So anyway, in 2021, Stockton and OceanGate start taking tourists down to see the wreckage of the Titanic. All for the low, low price of $250,000 a person. So basically, you gotta be super wealthy to engage in this. And they take, I believe, 13 expeditions down to see the wreckage. And most of these trips are, in fact, successful. However, they do lose communication with the surface a bunch of times during some of them, and apparently the Titan has over 118 different major and minor technical issues, including one time the battery died and passengers got trapped inside the sub for 27 whole hours. Which is definitely enough to make me say, f*** all that, but I don't know, I guess these billionaires are just built different because they keep paying the money and they keep going. And by 2023, Stockton and his company OceanGate, they're getting a lot of attention from the news media. So this is great for him. I mean, more media means more attention and therefore more customers. And so that summer, Titan heads out for its next expedition. Another trip to see the Titanic. And 5 people are supposed to go on this trip. Stockton and 4 others. And they aren't all billionaires. Only 2 of them are actually billionaires. One of them is actually one of the billionaire's 19-year-old son, and one of the guys is a Titanic expert. And so all 5 of these people get in the sub and it takes off and it starts to submerge. And everything's going fine. And over an hour goes by, and so far, so good, everything's going as planned. In fact, the sub sends a message to the support crew on the surface saying, all good here. And so I assume they're all chilling in this tiny little sub, looking out the windows or whatever, checking out the fish. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, boom, they lose power. And the Titan slowly tilts and it starts to nosedive toward the ocean floor. And all the passengers are now sitting in the pitch dark like, what the fuck is going on? And this goes on for about 60 seconds. And now they're panicking. Like, why did they lose power? Is this the end for them? And then, boom, the Titan implodes. And it crushes everyone like a soda can. I guess it wasn't constructed right, and it was under too much underwater pressure. And all 5 people on board die instantly. And it's not dramatic, it's not long and drawn out suffering, it's instant death within milliseconds. So they felt nothing. And here is actually footage of a piece of the sub they later found on the ocean floor. Now, there is some speculation that the 5 passengers did not lose power before the sub imploded, that it just imploded instantly and there was no panicking and no darkness or anything like that. But the truth is, we actually don't know for sure. And so then this story breaks and it's all over the news. And then the internet hears about it and they are ruthless. Like they fucking celebrated these 5 people's demise. Do you remember that? Like the general consensus when this happened was, yeah, fuck those billionaires. Like they deserved it. Like what? And people are like making memes out of it? Tons of memes. Like these people were just trying to explore the ocean and the internet is over here dancing on their grave. It was wild. So this mom influencer is shopping at an arts and crafts store with her kids, and she suddenly notices something suspicious. There appeared to be someone following her around the store, a Latino couple, and they were eyeing her kids. So she overhears this couple, and they're on the phone, and they're describing her kids' features. Blonde hair, blue eyes, stuff like that. And they keep following her down every aisle. So she just like leaves the store and goes to her car. And the Latino couple follows her out there. And they like start circling her car, and they even approached her son's stroller. And she gets so scared, and then she asks someone for help. And then the Latino couple, they just bounce, they flee. So the mom influencer, she calls the police, and she tells them what happened. And they do like a police report. A week later, she makes a video about what happened, and she posts it to her Instagram.
My children were the targets of attempted kidnap.
She then goes on to describe what happened, but she adds this little detail.
And that last time he reaches for the stroller.
And this detail becomes very important. So her video blows up because, the story's compelling and her audience is very supportive. I'm so sorry that happened to you. I hope they get caught. Why would you want someone else's kids? So then the police contacted her and they were suddenly very interested in that little detail she added to the story.
He reaches for the stroller.
Because if the Latino couple actually reached for the stroller, that escalates the case from, some weirdo just following them around the store to an actual attempted kidnapping. And that is a much bigger deal and a different type of investigation. With that change, the police were able to use their resources and find the Latino couple. Shown here, this is actually them. And since they were now suspects in this case, they were publicly accused. And of course they denied it.
This is probably the worst thing I could ever imagine being accused of.
Then the police were finally able to get a hold of the security footage from the store. And they reviewed it. And guess what they saw?
Absolutely nothing.
No one followed the mom influencer around the store. No one approached her. No one grabbed her stroller. The mom influencer's story was complete
bullshit.
The only thing that was real was the Latino couple, but they were just there. They were just shopping like anyone else. They didn't do anything wrong. That means the mom influencer not only lied to her audience in this video here, but she called the police about a crime that didn't happen and lied to them. Anyway, she was charged with making a false report of a crime, and she's in jail now.
What the hell were you thinking?
Also, this all happened in Sonoma, California, so shout out to California. So this TikToker got pregnant by her boyfriend. This guy. And then sadly, about 30 days after the baby was born, the boyfriend allegedly abandons them to move in with his ex-girlfriend. So Morgan, her name's Morgan starts making TikToks about her experience as a single mother. And her account starts to blow up because, she's likable and funny, but she made sure to keep his identity anonymous, only referring to him as the random man in Atlanta.
This baby, she's from a random man in Atlanta.
So then one day, her ex, the random man in Atlanta, the real guy, he saw her videos. So then he gets on TikTok to deny he's a deadbeat.
Morgan lies so good. Morgan can sell goddamn ice to an Eskimo.
And it was there in these videos that he admits to being the father of 6 kids. That's 6 kids with 6 different women.
Jesus.
So his response videos, they start blowing up, because now we're in some drama. And the comments are just not being kind to him. What a loser! Such a deadbeat! Bro, are you allergic to condoms? So then, out of nowhere, guess who decides to suddenly weigh in?
I'm baby mama number 1, by the way.
Yeah, his other baby mamas get on TikTok and they start weighing in one by one.
I am baby mama number 2. He doesn't call. He hasn't called. He doesn't help with anything.
Yeah, and then of course baby mama 3 had to make a TikTok.
Really, he brought this upon himself for everybody to be popping out the woodworks or whatever.
And then we find out that these 2 baby mamas, their babies were born 8 days apart. So, do that math. Then we have baby mama 4, and she doesn't make a video, but she does come forward on Twitter posting this. And of course, we can't forget baby mama number 5.
I came on here to reveal who baby mama number 5 was, and that's me.
And then baby mama number 6, she didn't have to come forward because we already know that's Morgan. But then baby mama number 5 starts beefing with baby mama number 6 over who Random Man in Atlanta's main chick was and who the side chick was.
He cheated on you with me. No, baby.
And fans see this and they're going nuts. They love the drama. They're like making diagrams and
As y'all can see, our baby mama chart, aka motherboard, has already been completed.
But the best part is when baby mama number 6 gets a phone call.
I just got a phone call from baby mama I don't even know. First time hearing about her ever today.
So Morgan finds out she's not actually baby mama number 6. She's baby mama number 7. Because another woman had come forward. So Morgan got demoted from 6 to 7. But I'm happy to report none of the baby mamas are beefing at the moment. They all seem to be chill with one another now, so, and, that's probably best for the kids. And Random Man, well, he's still out there and he's still insisting he's not a deadbeat. Anyway, I wish them all the best. So this woman pulls a YouTube prank that's so horrific, it ends up unaliving a man and nearly starts an international conflict. Now her name is Siti. She's 25, she's from Indonesia, but she's working in Malaysia as an escort. And she does that so she can send money back to her parents in Indonesia. But then one day, she meets a producer. The producer tells her he works for a production company of a huge YouTube channel. And they make like YouTube pranks and stuff. And he says he can get her an acting gig on his YouTube prank show. And the best part is that it pays pretty well. She can quit escort work, she can also make all this money and send it back to her parents in Indonesia. Plus, they're gonna pay her the equivalent of $96 per prank, which is a lot of money to Siti. So of course, she says yes. And pretty quickly, she's introduced to the head of the YouTube channel, this guy, Mr. Chang. And Mr. Chang and the other producers, they start getting her to pull these pranks on people in public. They'll like go to a public place and she'll like walk up to a total stranger and just randomly start holding their hand. Or they'll do a prank where they put like baby oil on her hands and she'll like run up behind a stranger and be like, guess who? Which smears the oil all over their face. It's pranks like that. And so she does a bunch of these pranks over the course of like a month. Meanwhile, the prank channel has also recruited this other woman to do pranks. Now her name is Dawn, and we'll get to her. But one day, the producers call Siti in to meet them at the airport, because they're gonna do this big prank there. So she's there, and she's with Mr. Chang, but Chang tells Siti there's actually another actress involved this time. And that actress will be doing the same thing, and it's Dawn. So the victim of this prank is actually gonna get double pranked. First by Siti, then by Dawn. But anyway, Mr. Chang pours a bunch of baby oil on Siti's hands, and then he points to a man out in the airport that he wants her to prank. This man. So minutes later, Siti sneaks up behind the man, and then from behind she puts her hands over his eyes, like guess who, or whatever. And of course, this smears the oil all over him. And then about 3 seconds later, Dawn approaches the man, and she smears her hand on his face as well. And then Siti and Dawn like giggle or whatever, and then they run away to the nearest bathroom to wash the oil off their hands. Meanwhile, the poor man, he's confused and a little freaked out, and he goes over to the airport security guards, and he tells them that some random women just like smeared something on his face, and that now he doesn't feel well. So security escorts the man to the airport medical center, and his condition quickly gets worse. Like, it is very apparent something is seriously wrong. So they rush him to the hospital, and on the way, he suddenly just dies. So who was this man? Well, let's call him Nam. Now, Nam is an interesting guy, because growing up, his dad was a dictator, the supreme leader of a little country you might have heard of called North Korea. Now, Nam, being the oldest son, he was always first in line to be the next supreme leader. But as he grew up and became an adult, Nam grew to be a little more progressive, a little more open-minded to reforming things for the better, something his conservative dictator dad really didn't like. But one day, Nam is traveling abroad, and he's in Japan, in the airport. And suddenly, boom, he gets arrested. Why? Because he's traveling with a fake passport trying to conceal his identity. Turns out, Nam was in Japan because he's low-key trying to take his son to visit Tokyo Disney, which in his country is a huge no-no. And once the news of Nam's arrest gets back to Dictator, Dictator is pissed. I mean, the heir to the throne can't be seen going to Disneyland in Tokyo? Disneyland represents capitalism, and worst of all, it represents America. And it's just everything North Korea stands against. So this arrest is a huge source of embarrassment for Dictator. And this Disneyland fiasco eventually leads to Nam being passed over for the position of supreme leader. And when Dictator eventually dies, his other son, Nam's half-brother, Kim Jong-un, he becomes the new dictator. And Kim Jong-un hates Nam. And Nam's been living internationally for a while in China. But regardless, Kim Jong-un has been trying to have him assassinated for years. And eventually, he and his regime come up with this elaborate plan. They're gonna trick 2 random women into unknowingly killing Nam. And the women end up being CT and Doan. And when CT and Doan are at the airport that day, the producers have both of them touch Nam's face with baby oil as a prank. But what CT and Doan don't know is that's not baby oil on their hands. No, on CT's hands, they put, we'll just call it chemical A. And on Doan's hands, they put what we'll call chemical B. And when you combine these 2 compounds, it creates a nerve agent called VX, or venomous agent X. A nerve agent that has been banned around the world because it's considered a weapon of mass destruction and will kill you instantly, especially if someone smears it on your face. So Nam dies that day, right after they touch him. And Mr. Chang and all the other producers who set this up, they're all actually North Korean spies. And they all just flee, and they eventually get away. Of course, North Korea denies being involved in any of this. And this creates tensions between Malaysia and Indonesia. But since those producers all fled, that leaves the only 2 people connected to the crime, CT and Doan. So CT and Doan are in the airport bathroom washing their hands. And they walk out and they look around and all the producers are nowhere to be found. So CT and Doan are just like, all right. And separately, the 2 women each go home. And they have no idea that anyone died. About a day later, they each get arrested. And CT is so clueless as to what's going on, she literally thinks her arrest is part of the prank show. Like, haha, yeah, right, guys, sure, I'm being arrested, okay. But Malaysian police arrest them and they charge them with murdering Nam. 8 months later, their trial starts. And if CT and Doan get convicted of murder, by law, they'll get the death penalty by hanging. So the stakes in this are really high. So this trial goes on for 2 years. And the Indonesian government has to get involved because CT is technically their citizen. And these women are in jail this whole time. And then one day, suddenly, like out of nowhere, the charges against CT are just dropped. And cool, CT goes free. Apparently the Indonesian government was eventually able to intervene and they negotiated her release. While Doan does not get out, but she does plead guilty to a lesser charge and eventually they do let her go. Here's what Doan looks like in real life. And here's what CT looks like in real life. Wow, a crazy story. Shout out to North Korea.